Howdy folks, I'm up at Harvest, ready to catch some good stuff, and you're listening to TDC Moncton.
Hey folks, I'm doing more snowshoe walking. Here's the trail that cuts through the park. It actually goes all the way up, which is where I'm destined to right now. Just a few seconds ago there were two skidoos exploring the trails in the back. The trail network that we have here in Moncton is not vast and varied, but it seems to suit the interests of the snow bunnies and the snow jocks. So that's a good thing. And other people have done snowshoeing. It's a popular pastime for people that live in the Maritimes. There's that, there's ice skating, hockey, curling, as much as it's an indoor sport. What else? Tobogganing, or what you could call luging, not professionally. Pond hockey, backyard ice skate rink hockey, which is similar to pond hockey, except you can actually design the ice rink to your specifications by smoothing out the ice and giving it a more even finish, whereas pond hockey, you take it with all the lumps. I don't know about you folk, but this is after the nor'easter has hit. I don't know if we're going to have another dump of snow in the next 24 hours. I think I remember the actual environment warnings that we may be seeing another 10 centimeters in the next 24 hours. That's fine by me. As long as I don't get to have to shovel in the middle of the week during a snowstorm where I know I'm going to have to go to work the next morning and then be nervous about having to open my driveway so I can get my car out and make my way to work safely, slowly. That's fine by me. At night you don't get to see a lot of the local wildlife. In fact, you just hear their noises if you're lucky. And if you're really special, you may end up encountering one face to face or nose to nose. Or would that be muzzle to face? Yeah, muzzle to face. And probably exclaim in such a fashion that it makes eek such an insignificant word and go running at all speed in the opposite direction. Of course, there being nighttime as it is, running isn't really an option unless you really have suicidal tendencies, or if you wish to be closer to nature in much more a way that was ever intended for a living human being. I'll have to come one of these days during the day where there's more light so I can have you see the sights. Trails made by animals, fresh or old, indicating that they've passed by. It's amazing what humans have done in the past few years in regards to expanding their domain on Mother Nature's planet. We've done development where there shouldn't be development. For example, we have another green preserve here in Moncton called the Mapleton Park. It had a locked off area that City Council suddenly decided was something that they could sell a portion thereof for development. So basically, from what I understood, unless they decided to cancel those plans, they had decided that all of a sudden Mapleton Park was going to be developed upon or encroached upon by humans building condos, houses, or unfortunately the way I look at it is when we develop, a lot of times we believe with all faith that the house that we're going to be buying is properly built up to standard and up to code, and if not, a little bit even more, not less, or shoddily just to make it pass. I believe my house is shoddily built, but mi casa is mi casa, home sweet home, as they say. But I really wish that all home builders would follow Mike Holmes' example of integrity, making sure that everything is done right the first time, up to code, ensuring that everything functions properly prior to final installation. Not many people do that, especially when you're a contractor and you've got other jobs. Sometimes things get forgotten, that we want to or not. Unfortunately, I've seen it too often to say, no, it doesn't exist. And it's not the contractor that pays for it, and if we're lucky, we'll be able to get them to commit to their moral obligation and business obligation of satisfying the customer based on the verbal or signed contract agreement. But in some cases, contractors have gone belly up prior to finishing what they were done, or they decided, you know what, this person's a pain in my rear end, I'm not going to finish this contract. And basically they just say front end. Yeah. Front is a better way of saying it than the actual word. Imagine if this was the actual ragged ass road. And imagine there'd be no lights. Oh, how lonely this would be. But yet, solace is found in peace. Unfortunately, not many people seek peace. They seek discordance, disharmony, irritants. The hustle and bustle of life, well, what many people define as life. But when you think about it, there's not one point in our lives that our forefathers, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, so on and so forth down the line, up the family tree, as they say, or down the family tree. Here's the brook again. This is the fun part about life, especially when you're not running. I'm not sure if this is going to come through the camera's mic, but that was a babbling brook, susurrating on its own accordance with its own time cycle. The worst part is that, similar to that brook, everyone has that choice of being able to do their own life cycle. When we work for employers, though, they want us to work on their clock, which is fine, we can do that, but does one have to always be on the clock? Humans are imperfect machines. By that, I don't mean we're all defective. I mean we're all imperfect. We don't resemble each other. We don't have the same exact mannerisms as each other, the same foibles or frustrations. Those vary from person to person. But choice is our power. You have options, even if you say, well, that's not an option. Well, you can take the door in A, which leads you into what seems to be a room on the other side. But in actuality is not a room, it's a cavern, and there's no floor on the other side of that door. That's a choice. That's one of the choices. Another choice, taking door B, which leads you down a set of stairs into hell. Or door C, which leads you up to heaven of sorts, where you can be more relaxed and be at your ease. But one thing that I do know by experience is that the choices are indeed multiple and much better than being indecisive. One has to be ready to be able to live with those consequences, measuring the pros and cons. Don't know if I can see that light. See that star over there? One of the few stars which brilliance is more than the light pollution from the city. Ah, stars. I miss my town for that. They've invaded it with lights, but it's less polluted than what it is here, light pollution wise. And for those of you saying, it's a price of technology, wrong. Price of technology would be to actually pay more of an ecological penalty than anything else. The problem is that people think that lights can be put up any which way. For those of you that own homes and who live in the town, I do implore and beg you to change the way your lights are done. If you have any high power wattage bulbs on the outside of the house due to security reasons, that's okay. But regardless of what kind of light that you have, if I could be on my knees right now, I would, but trust me, it's difficult enough with my snowshoes. As an amateur astronomer, I would really appreciate if everyone could do the following thing. You can buy, that's not a word, you can buy a plastic hood which fits on top of the light bulb, or the light source, keeping all the light radiating downwards instead of going up into the sky, as you can see right here. Okay? It would keep itself from that level down. And it eliminates light pollution. And it's funny when you say that to somebody and they go, it's not a pollution, it doesn't kill anything. True, but it's a form of energy, and energy being uncontained is a form of pollution. Similar to microwaves, Wi-Fi, you name it, it exists. We're currently using it. Unfortunately, we're using it in a way that may or may not kill us. For example, Wi-Fi. A lot of schools in Canada are pulling Wi-Fi out of schools, and they're going back to regular cable. For the fact that the Wi-Fi itself, there are studies that indicate that Wi-Fi may be nefarious, as it has a higher electrical discharge than what they were expecting in regards to energy and what it could do to human beings. Remember the movie with Hugh Jackman where he played a magician and he visited this famous scientist who was played by David Bowie? And that David Bowie was playing with electricity, which at that time was still an unknown entity. That is a theoretical possibility when you think about it, but that's not the point. The point is that energy affects everything on the cellular, on a microscopic level. It's on an atomic level. Its effects are still vastly unknown because we haven't been able to do many studies about the type of item that's available for it, the type of measurements that are currently made. But so be it. Either way, we're currently using technology today that, if you look at 30, 40, 50 years ago, didn't exist. It's incredible what kind of leaps and bounds the human being does when it does developments, but it's also scary when you think about it, about the speed of how we do it and how we don't take light of consequences beforehand, where we don't think about them before we actually implement them. And if we do, there's usually some corporate entity or some developer or some investor that wants that shut up, and they just want it out in the market so they can reap the benefits. Oh money, what a wicked weave you provide us to play with. Anyways. By the light of a busted up Coca-Cola machine. Have a nice one.